Yeah. We gotta rise up. Rise up. Yo. Go for broke, give everything, better yet give your all. They don't wanna see you win, nevertheless show evolve. Wanna see my demise, you can be in for a surprise. Cause the sun ain't about to set, now it's about to rise. Come hell or high water, we gotta rise up. All right, what's going on, everybody? This is Terrance. I want to welcome you to this week's episode of the Stage is Mine podcast, presented to you by Double ETV. This week, it is my privilege and honor to bring on the podcast Jona Hall. Jona, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Terrance. How are you?
Doing very well. It's a privilege and honor to have you on the podcast, and we'll start off. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is Jona Hall officially, but most people know me as Jona Nanette. I have been doing stage plays since I want to say 2001. I'm writing them, directing them, producing them. And then in 2014, I did my first full-length feature film called Making Love. And it came out, premiered in Atlanta, Georgia in 2015. And then right before it premiered, I came out with a YouTube series called My Big Fat Life. I want to talk about that later, but so we'll put a pin in it, but to this date, that's my heart. That's my passion. That is my, what do you call it? My special child. That's, to me, that is the thing I'm most proudest of, even though that seems like you did a full-length feature film. I'm more proud of the YouTube series because I feel like it was more of me, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, and now we moved to San Antonio, Texas. So shout out to Texas, and things are different here, and I'm trying to adjust and trying to get back into certain things, but it's been good. I'm still writing. I'm still trying to direct. I have gotten a little more into acting now.
Okay.
I'm trying to take some more roles to kind of hone that skill because that was one of my majors in school. And so we're going to see. We're going to see wherever God takes us. But my passion will always be writing, and my baby will always be My Big Fat Life.
Okay. Now tell us about Jahanco Digital Media.
Jahanco Digital Media is a film company that I kind of created to produce my first full-length feature film, Making Love. And people are like, okay, Making Love, the title, no. It's basically about how love is made throughout someone's lifetime, and the different stages of love in relationships, or the different stages of relationships, and how love kind of reflects that. And so I feel that to kind of, let me backtrack. So many people, when I was doing stage plays, wanted to buy my plays, put their names on it, and produce and direct it, on the big screen. And so I was like, I want to, when I come out with my first full-length feature film, I want it to be from a media company that represents me, that I have created. And so once we did Making Love, I created Jahanco Digital Media and put everything that I was doing underneath that umbrella.
Okay. It's awesome. So what was it like making the film? What was your process of doing all that?
People keep talking about pre-production and how hard pre-production is, and they are absolutely correct. Pre-production will kick your butt. Do you hear me? I was watching the Issa Rae documentary the other day, and it was just talking about how she came from YouTube, and when she started doing Insecure, she was like, why is it taking so long? We don't need to do all this blah 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 blah. When you make a film or a TV show correctly, the right way, it takes a lot. It takes a lot of the little nuances that you may overlook, or because you don't have the budget or the crew to kind of like mitigate those circumstances, you kind of like overlook. But when you do a film of that magnitude, you have to dot every I and cross every T. And so the pre-production was the hardest thing for me. Location manager, location scouts, assistant directors, production managers, stage managers, prop masters, script keepers, not script keepers, what do you call it? The script coordinators. I call them script keepers and play when we're doing plays.
Yeah.
But the most fun part was, of course, filming. But to me, I don't know why, I love editing. I love to shoot a story and then put the pieces together. So editing was actually one of my favorite parts of it as well. So post-production, for me, I don't want to say it was the most fun because it wasn't the most fun, but it was the most satisfying for me. Pre-production, I've never had to do that again. And of course, shooting was always great.
Okay, now tell us about the Unapologetic podcast that you host.
Well, the Unapologetic podcast came about, me and my friend, who is a white Republican conservative, a conservative Republican, which everyone comes first, decided to do a podcast kind of going back and forth on political issues. And then he moved to take a job at Texas A&M, which is like 3 hours away. And so I wanted to make it more Blacker. I was like, I'm tired of fighting with him every episode. So, but even though those were great episodes, check them out. But I was like, let me find a Black woman who doesn't think like I think, because Black women are not a monolith, who we can kind of like bounce ideas off of each other. And so I found a good friend of mine. Her name is Mimi Mars. She's an actress. Please check her out. And we started like part 2, round 2, Unapologetic, the encore. And we just started interviewing mostly Black women who had a viewpoint. We started interviewing Black women who had a platform or who we felt needed a platform to share different interests. Like I said, Black women are not a monolith, but it is some very common interests that a lot of us share. And even we don't share, just to expose different people to the different things that's going on in our community. And so like we talked about things like colorism, fat phobia. What was another good one? Grief. That was a great episode, the grief episode. And another real big one, I can't remember which one it was. It's like on the tip of my, sex in the church. Like that's my favorite episode. But I feel like we tackle a lot of topics that are either taboo in traditional media, or you just don't see coming from women who look like us.
Yeah.
So that podcast is near and dear to my heart. And we're planning to kind of re-up and do it again next year, but that's still in the planning process. Because like I said, I'm moving, the pandemic, I have a career change going on. It's just a lot going on right now.
Can you share with us a little bit about at the age of 16 and what you experienced losing your best friend?
So I had a friend, his real name was Jimmy, but we call him May May. And he was like the sweetest, most precious guy. When you saw him, you would think thug. I'm not gonna lie, you would think thug. But if you had one conversation with him, you were like, oh, he's just a normal, regular 16-year-old guy who kind of looks like he came from the wrong side of the tracks. Great heart. And one of his neighbors got into a fight with their boyfriends, and he tried to break it up, like I said, because he was just such a great guy, and the guy stabbed him. And it was so funny because the week before, like the last time I saw him, and this is what stood out to me, I was like, you have to be careful what you say, because the last thing he told the bus driver, he was getting off the bus, she took his headphones because he kept wearing them, and he was like rapping out loud or whatever. And she was like, give me those headphones. And he was like, I can't live without my headphones. And he was gone. Or I asked, for the first time, I asked myself, what is the plan for your life? And I didn't have one, because I don't care what people tell you, education is important, networking is important, your network is important. Your network is tied to your net worth. And I don't think people understand that. College is not for learning. You can learn that stuff on the job. College is for networking and getting the connections that you need to go to the next level. And so I feel like, don't waste your time. Those extracurricular activities, they just don't look good on a resume or on a college application. You are literally meeting future leaders of society. And it's easier to get through a door if you know who's behind it.
Yeah. What was your time like in college at Alabama State University?
Well, that's where I met a mutual friend of ours, Shakita Harris. We both sung with Shakita Harris fresh now. We both sung with the Tribe of Judah. That's like a traveling college choir. And it's so funny because I was supposed to go to Alabama A&M. I actually went there. My first day at Alabama A&M, I broke my foot. And so I transferred the next semester back to Alabama State because I was there at Alabama State. Then I transferred. I was going to spend the rest of my years at college at Alabama A&M, and the Lord said no. And so when I was sitting trying to enroll in classes, I got invited to a Tribe of Judah meeting. That's the choir that I sung with for 5, 6, 7 years. And I wasn't going to go because I literally was like, I'm just going to have fun. I met some friends and we literally were planning to go to the club that night. And I said, I was like, I'm just going to start having fun, just start living my life. And I went to the entrance meeting for the Tribe of Judah. Never made it. Well, I never made it to the club. They probably did. And my life has been on a whole nother trajectory since that first entrance meeting to the Tribe of Judah. Shout out to CQ Color, our director, because I wrote a book, and in the preface of the book, in the what do you call it, the dedication, I wrote, of course, to my mom, blah, blah, blah. But then to CQ, I said, to God who gave me wings, and to Q who taught me how to use them, something like that. But he really did change my life, and he really opened my eyes to the possibilities that were before me.
Okay. And why did you decide to pick English as a major?
Because I like to write. I have been, now this is gonna sound funny, and if this is your, like the thing that you struggle with, I'm not judging, but I didn't realize that people don't know how to write. Like people don't know how to make basic sentences and like sentence structure.
Yeah.
I have been writing for people. I have wrote doctoral thesis. Like I have wrote people's papers, research papers, like people who have way more degrees than me. They have paid me, grown people when I was still in high school, writing their papers. I wrote an Easter play for my church. And at the time, it was a politician. He was over our drama department. And he was friends with the mayor and his wife. And so it was a courtroom drama, of course, because I'm extra for Easter. Yeah, of course. And he took the script to the mayor's wife, who was a judge at the time, so she could read over it, and because he wanted everything to be legit. So he took it to her to read over so she could like input and change things up, like kind of edit and correct it. She added one line and asked, who wrote this? She was like, befuddled. She was like, who wrote this? Like, she was messed up that somebody who was not a person in the legal system knew so many of the technical terms. Shout out to LA Law and Order, CSI. But I watch a lot of courtroom and TV, courtroom dramas. But that was the first time it was like, Jona, you might have something here, because he literally came back and said she was messed up to know a young girl wrote this script.
Yeah. That's amazing. And I went to AUM, so they definitely put a lot of emphasis on writing as well. How did you get into producing and writing scripts? Like, was it a film that you saw, or what kind of inspired you to go down that path?
I'm glad you asked that question. I love that question. And this is why. The reason I feel like art exists is to shake things up. I feel like good art at least invokes a conversation. And so I feel that that's what I want to do with my art. As you know, like I said, I'm an actress and I look like this. Beautiful. I'm not saying that's not play, but you don't see a lot of this in mainstream media or film. And when you do, it's always the sidekick role, the funny girl, the mama trope, or the sage, the wise woman giving advice. And even though I have played all those roles, that's not my life. That's like 10% of my life. My other 80% of my life, I'm in love, I'm dating, I'm shopping, I'm scrolling through Instagram, like, or I forgot the biggest trope of the fat girl or the dark skinned girl is either being made over or the bigger girl losing weight. And I'm like, my life does not reflect on losing. I mean, what does not revolve around losing weight. And it just seems like in films, the big girl, nobody asks her out, nobody wants to date her, nobody wants to talk to her. And that just was not my life. And I was like, I wanted to reflect my life, my actual life on screen. And I feel like so many people have these preconceived notions. Like one time, one of my friends went, me and him, he came out here to visit, and he literally was like, just looking at me, and he was like, "You don't eat a lot." And I was like, "Huh?" He was like, "You don't eat a lot." And I was like, I know. He didn't say it, but this is what he meant. So why are you So, and he was like, "I've been watching you, don't eat a lot. You always move, you work out." And you could just tell the wheels was like just spinning. And I was like, I'm not going to say everybody thought like this, but I feel like once the pandemic hit and the gym shut down and all you had to do was be at home looking at each other and watching TV, now people see how easy it is to gain weight and how hard it is to lose weight. But prior to then, people were just like, you could do things. Some people, I hate to say it, are just genetically predisposed to being bigger. And also, if your parents, and that's why when I do have children, I want to watch what they eat. Most times, fat children turn into fat adults. And it's hard for fat adults who were fat kids to lose weight. That's scientifically proven. My size should not determine my status in life. And it should not make me have to take certain roles that are designed for bigger / darker women, and they don't reflect the rest of my life. So my first role, like I said, I wrote Making Love, I did my films. I was my first play called The Other Side of the Download. And it was about basically things are not what they seem to be. And it was one guy in there, he was in love with a bigger, darker woman. And he didn't know how people would feel about him because he was supposed to have this beautiful woman on his arm. And then now this is what everybody remember about the play. The main character was a lesbian, but she was a down low lesbian. And but because she was so beautiful, she was sought after by all these men. And so it was just like a play on things are not what they seem. Because you have this beautiful lesbian struggling to fight off being a lesbian. And then on the other hand, you have a beautiful, vivacious, darker, plus size woman who's ready to love men and men looking over her to get to the lesbian. So yeah.
Right. Gotcha. Okay, now tell us also, you was alluding to this earlier about My Big Fat Life. So tell us about that.
People have wanted to fight me because of Lisa. Lisa is not a good person. Lisa is grimy. Lisa is trash. And I remember say garbage. I had fun playing her. If you know me, I'm a good girl. Be in church all the time. Don't do nothing for real. Like I'm boring. Lisa was my chance to live on the other side, and I took full advantage of it. Lisa was a record executive / AR producer, music producer, and she had trauma, and that trauma generated drama. And the biggest thing that she had a problem with was saying no to other people's men. And I remember the characters were so fun because I remember in episode 4, the first season, episode 4, that's when I realized that nobody had ever seen a girl who looked like me do the things Lisa did. Because I lost so many viewers They came back, some of them eventually. But people, my family, my sister, they was like, after episode 4, I mean, why would she do her like that?
Mm.
And Terrance, do you know how many TV shows show the exact same thing week after week?
Right.
Nobody's bothered.
Yeah.
But it was a problem when the girl doing it looked like me.
Mm.
And so that made me double down and dig deeper.
Yeah.
But the show is just about Lisa trying to find true love and trying to process. There's a lot of twists and turns and secrets. So please watch it. Check it out. YouTube on my page, John on the Net, and don't forget to subscribe. But it's just her journey of healing.
Yeah.
And accepting her truth and her past and resolving her brokenness and her issues.
Yeah, it's definitely something that everybody should check out for sure. What are you currently working on? I know you got something that you in the lab doing.
I am currently working on a script. I can't say the name.
Okay.
God gave it to me in a dream, and he just said, write the script.
Okay.
And so it's something different. It's not my genre. It's not my usual type. I've only written one thing kind of similar to it. And that's all I'm going to say. The next time a lot of you hear about me will probably be because of that script. So, yeah.
Okay. Who has influenced you over the years? Is it a particular director, writer, or actress or actor?
Issa Rae all day. Issa Rae all day. To see a woman who, she's not plus size, but she is darker. To see a Black woman do what I wanted to do. And I know the opposition that she faced. Like, she had to fight to be the lead actress on her own show because they wanted Lauren London. But now let's just talk about some things right now. Lauren London's a lovely girl. Have no problem with her. Wish her well. But she's not the best actress in the world. And neither is Issa Rae. I'm not saying she's, but how can Lauren London portray an awkward Black girl? She's considered by a lot of people to be so beautiful and to be so pretty and to be so desirable. So how, and I know she's an actress, she's supposed to be able to act, but it's just not, I'm so tired of movies portraying ugly women or awkward women. And the only thing that's really wrong with them is that they wear glasses or they don't know how to dress. And so as soon as they, get a makeover, all of a sudden they're hot. Show real ugly women, show real awkward women, show real women. And Issa is a gorgeous woman, but I believe she's naturally awkward. And so I feel like, when the whole conversation came about the movie The Heights and the colorism aspects of that, and because I live in San Antonio, which majority of the people here are Latino or Hispanic people, I had to, involve myself in the conversation because I was just hearing so many sides, especially the people that identify as Afro-Latina. I resonated with their complaints, and I was trying to talk to one of my friends who presents as white, and she was saying to push the Black rage agenda, blah blah blah. And I listened to her, and I was like, do you know some movies that I don't watch because they don't have a dark-skinned person in the movie or a dark-skinned woman in the movie, or the lead doesn't look like me?
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not talking about white films. I'm just talking about Black. If you have a Black movie and the love story is supposed to be between a Black man and a lighter skin or mixed woman, I'm not gonna say I won't watch it, but I'm not gonna rush to watch it because I can't identify with it. If I have a child right now by a white man or a Hispanic guy, me and my child will have totally different experiences just because of our skin tones. Forget our race, just because of our skin tones. Colorism is real, texturism is real, featureism is real. And it's just certain things they'll be able to talk to me about, and I could be sympathetic toward them, but and empathetic, and ask God to give me the godly wisdom to give to them. But it's just certain things I'm not gonna be able to identify what they're talking about.
Right.
And I was like, if Washington Heights is a community of darker Afro-Latinos, and they made a movie featuring this community with white presenting / lighter Afro-Latinas, that's a problem. People want to see themselves. Like, people want to see themselves. And if you made a movie about Montgomery, Alabama, it's a show right now on TV. If you make a movie about Montgomery, Alabama, and you never show one white person, when Montgomery, Alabama is majority Black, people would be offended. Like, like if
Yeah.
the whole thing was just whitewash, you would be upset. If you go to Africa and made a movie in Nigeria, they actually did a TV show in Africa, did not have one Black cast member. It was a reality show. It's a problem. Darker women were not shown to be love interests. Dark women were not shown to be the lead roles. Like, it's so many women. Think about it. Now, back in the day, you did see darker leads, but around late 2000s, early 2010s, things changed. And every time you look up, you saw a lighter or mixed looking woman representing Black women. And Issa Rae, because of her, now you can look up and see women who look like me again on TV.
Tell us right quick about Just Slade magazine.
Just Slade magazine is a collaboration of writers. I am the editor-in-chief. The managing editor is Nadia. Shout out to you. And we just write different stories. The whole template of Just Slade is we're Christians, but we're not conservatives. So we have a different take on things. Like, a lot of Christian media right now is very far right. It's very conservative. And it's like written from a conservative viewpoint. And I was like, there are a lot of Christians that people call them progressive or people who are deconstructing Christianity, but it's a lot of people who love God who are going to heaven, but don't have a conservative take on things. And that's what Just Slade came in. We just wanted to kind of do a collaborative effort. It's an online magazine. Check us out, justslade.live. And we just talk about different things from a non-conservative viewpoint with a very Christian viewpoint.
Okay. Now, Jonah, how did you get into real estate?
I was a realtor back in Alabama. People don't know that. My mom owns some stuff. My family owns some stuff. So I kind of like was their property manager for a lot of different things as well. And so when we came up here after the pandemic, when I got here, I had a good job at a very famous social media company. And the Lord had told me not to work full time, but I wanted to show I could work full time. And I could not. And so I was like, in the area that I was working, of course, I worked the area where the Spurs stay, like the athletes stay, the oil, the mafia.
Okay.
Like everybody. That's the area I was working. And so I made some good money. I made some really good money. And then the pandemic hit. And I was like, I need to do something. I couldn't see myself going back to a 9-to-5 setting. I mean, if that's for you, great. But I just couldn't see myself going back to a 9-to-5 setting. So I was like, what can I do during a pandemic that can kind of help me? So when after the pandemic, I could just go. And the Lord dropped my spirit real estate. And so I was like, I'm not going to pay that much for no real estate school. And then my brother said he'll pay for it. And I was like, but I still don't want him to pay that much. And then I got like an offer on an email offer saying this real estate school was like half off or something like that. And I was like, I looked into it. It's like one of the top schools in Texas that, that Texas Board of Realtors recognized. So I enrolled, I took the test. Thank God I passed. I didn't know to the end that Texas is supposed to be like the hardest state to get your license in. Like that test is supposed to be the hardest. Did not know till like the day, maybe the day or two, maybe a week at the most before I took my test. I was like, are you serious? So I am a realtor for Keller Williams, Cedar Park. Shout out to Carrie and Marty and Donna. Donna's my coach. But I'm having fun. I didn't know you could do so much with real estate. Like in Alabama, I only was like, you could just sell and buy houses. Like that's all you could do, sell them and buy them. I'll represent the sellers and the buyers. But it's so much more that you can do with real estate. And I'm just finding out a lot about what all I can do with a real estate license. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah. What was 2020, 2021 like in your area as far as COVID-19?
I live in Texas, and Texas is a red state. So we shut down, but we did. Pandemic helped me in a lot of ways. It helped me to start to double down on my marketing company. And that's what's bringing in the most income right now. So if you are a social media influencer or want to become one, or if you feel like you have a lot of followers on social media, or you want more, or you want to turn your likes into coins, call me. I work with a lot of social media influencers. I mean, people that you've heard of. I'm not talking about people that you've heard of. I just did a media kit for one of them the other day. I just said the TikTok girl. She's on TikTok and she always wears a bonnet. I just say it like that because I don't, my clients might not want me to name them. But if you need help with your marketing and branding, call me. Like literally, I can say, because she will say, I took her from somebody popular to somebody who's getting paid for being popular. So that's my specialty. So if you need me, call me. And I'm not gonna say I'm affordable because that would be a lot. I'm not, but I'm worth it. I'm worth it.
Okay. Well, what are your goals for 2022?
To finish the script, to grow my marketing company, and I want to own a couple of properties for Airbnb. I also want to get into property management a little bit more because I feel like it's needed. Texans are not the most organized. I'm learning that. And so that's what I really want to do. I want to, it's something big that I am a part of. It's going to pop off in next year, but I don't want to really talk about it because it's not my thing. And I don't know how much he wants me to talk about it. But I'm very excited about that too. I just say shout out to Jarrell, Rise Community. And that's pretty much it. Just finally living and having fun. We was talking before this podcast came on. And I just want to say, do not be afraid to grow up. I feel like selling youth to people or forcing you down our throats is the biggest marketing scam that society has ever come up with. People like, youth is wasted on the young. No, I don't want to be young and stupid and broke and insecure and looking over my shoulder and paranoid. That's how I felt when I was in my teenage years and in my 20s. I like how I felt once I turned 30. I like the security that I had, the reservations that fell off of me, the insecurities that just rolled away instantly. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm still flawed, but those flaws don't stop my progress or my purpose. And I'm realizing that. Yeah. And I just like the person that I am as I'm growing older. And I feel like so many people want to be young. And I'm like, and nothing like an old fool who wants to be young. And what I mean by that is so many people want to look young, be young, and that's fine, that's cool, but don't be afraid to grow up.
All right, Jonas, so I do this in every podcast. I'm gonna throw a couple rapid fire questions at you and just answer with the first thing that comes to your mind.
Okay.
All right, favorite playwright?
Me, Jona Hall.
There you go. Favorite film?
Either Love and Basketball or Color Purple, The Color Purple.
All right, what's your favorite play?
The National Rainbow Society requests the honor of your presence at a celebration of the first 100 years.
All right, and what do you do for fun?
Shop. I love shopping, online shopping in particular.
Okay. You have a favorite TV show?
Insecure, of course.
Favorite actor?
Issa Rae all day. Or Yvonne Orji, one of those.
All right.
But I will say this. I'm not saying they're the best. The best actress, hands down, the GOAT is Meryl Streep. Let's not play. And then after her, Viola Davis. But my favorite actresses will be Issa Rae and Yvonne Orji.
Okay. What about actor, males?
Michael B. Jordan. Okay. I mean, he's just so talented. I mean.
Okay. You have a favorite film of his?
Oh, all of them. But in particular, Black Panther. Black Panther and it was another Black Panther, yes. But I also love the film that he did. It was one he just did on Netflix when he played Lauren London's talked about her earlier. Right. Husband. Now he did very good in that film. I ain't gonna lie to you. Yeah. I see you, Mike. How you doing? Watching it, you listen. Hey, Mike. Hashtag him so he can hear
it. Favorite recording artist?
It would probably be Lettucey or Kiara Clark Sheard Kelly. Is that her name? Kiara? I think it's Kiara Sheard Kelly now. And Charles Butler. Those probably my three.
Okay. Favorite places to travel?
Anywhere with water or Las Vegas. If you got gambling and or water, I'm there. So shout out to Biloxi.
All right. One superpower you wish you had?
Invisibility.
Okay. Hot or cold?
Cold all day. Cold.
Okay. Burgers or tacos?
Taco. San Antonio, honey. San Antonio tacos.
Okay. And what motivates you?
My brother.
Okay.
And I was about to cry, but my brother.
Your brother? Okay. And last but not least, when it's all said and done, what do you want your legacy to be?
That I cared and that I was nice and kind and I gave people a fair chance. My legacy is once she got on, she put me on. I want that to be my legacy. Like once she made it, or even when she was striving to make it, or even when she wanted to make it, or even when she was in the grocery store, I want to treat people fairly, give them a chance, and put my people on once I get on.
Yeah, that's beautifully said. Jona, I appreciate you coming on the podcast today. Anyone that's interested in watching your film, your podcast, your magazine, anything that you have involvement in, how can they look at it or reach out to you?
Go to Jonathan on IG, JONANANETTE on IG. Follow me, and then go to YouTube and follow me on there, Jonathan as well. I just need to get the license. I just need to follow the subscribers, but I do have links to all my information on both of those platforms. So YouTube and Instagram will probably be the quickest and best places for you to follow me to get access to my other stuff.
Okay, great. All right, Jona, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I want to thank you for tuning in to the Stage is Mine podcast. We'll see you on next week. Take care.
Thank you so much for having me, Terrance.
My pleasure. I want to thank everybody for their support, those of you that have been watching all of our podcasts. If you're interested in donating to the Stage is Mine podcast, you can send that two ways, via PayPal or Cash App. Our Cash App is Terry from the A, and our PayPal is EETV101. Support this machine today to help us continue to do what we're doing. Also, if you're interested in becoming a sponsor of the Stage is Mine podcast, email me today at EETV@yahoo.com or call 334-498-5394. Thank you very much. I want to thank you for tuning in to today's program. Be sure to hit that like, subscribe, and notification bell for all things pertaining to the Stage is Mine podcast. Until next time, take care.
Broke, give everything, better yet, give your all. They don't want to see you win, nevertheless, show evolve. Want to see my demise, you can be in for a surprise, cause the sun ain't about to set.